Well, the stars were shining bright in Major League Baseball. The young rookies were making their names known across the league. Both National League and American League teams went off, but not everybody played on opening day 2.0. Let's break it all down.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by MLB The Show 26. Visit MLBThe.show/locked-on and use the code LOCKED-ON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox X, and on Nintendo Switch. Make sure you know that's rated E for everyone. Well, I'm going to bring in my partner in crime, Mike Stanton. I've got to decide which 3 game systems I'm going to be playing MLB The Show on. Check this out.
Man, you hit the jackpot. It's good to be the king. Holy moly.
Yep, Nintendo Switch, Xbox X, and PS5. So there you go. I mean, they deliver. When we do a top 100 list, they deliver the goods. There were some, and talking about delivering goods were delivered. And some goods were not received because some teams performed really well and some teams put up the old goose egg, Mike.
They did. Actually, it was a pretty exciting, mostly opening day because, we did have the opener last night. We'll talk about the Netflix game here in just a moment. But and then we have 3 games that, 6 teams that will not open till actually tomorrow. So, they really spread it out over 3 days. So it's just one of those things. They're trying to reinvent the wheel. I understand, but sometimes the old wheel works just fine.
Sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And look, I was actually talking to at St. Arnold's, brewery.
Yeah.
Eric and I were live with Locked On Astros. Thank you for being a part of the show. I got to bring on my co-host Mike from Back to the Bullpen. That was kind of cool. But he was talking about how the Daytona 500 is what launches NASCAR, and it's a big
that's
deal.
their opening day. Yeah.
It's their opening day, and everything goes from that place. It's this big wave, and that wave carries a whole season. And we were having this conversation about opening day, and I had to agree with them because it's like when you have 3 opening days, or you have an opening day and it's only 1 team, 2 teams, 1 game. The day before, okay, so we are recording this Thursday. So if you're watching this Friday, you have to compete right now with the Sweet 16 in the Elite 8. Mm-hmm. If everybody goes on Wednesday, Mike, everybody has the attention of the country. Everybody, every team can play. Everybody has the attention. It's the only sport on. I mean, you have a captive audience.
Yeah, but Major League Baseball loves their history, and you always open on Thursday. Because one of the things you have to remember with Major League Baseball, you're playing so many games that it's not just about the day you're playing. You're setting up series. 3-game series, 4-game series. It's a very, very complex system that puts together the schedule. But, yesterday, what was yesterday about? Yesterday was about the money. Netflix paid for 3 seasons of opening day, 3 seasons of Home Run Derby, and the third thing that they paid for was the Field of Dreams game. Okay.
Oh,
so it was actually a package of those. Now they paid crazy amount of money, $50 million a year for 3 seasons.
Wow.
So it's for 9 dates. Major League Baseball made $150 million. Now can you really blame them for taking that? Not at all.
No,
That is a bunch. That is a bunch of Netflix subscriptions.
I just want to know who is the guy that hits the calculator 50 million and transfers that to the bank for the payment. It reminds me of, and I don't know why I keep going back to The Dark Knight, but I believe in the final of the Dark Knight series. Bruce Wayne has this accountant who's like crunching the numbers because Morgan Freeman's character is like, run the numbers again. And he goes, hey, I found all this stuff. I found these things you're building. I found this. And you know what? I'm going to expose Bruce Wayne. And he's like, you're going to expose the richest man in the world. Like this guy, Can you imagine dealing with this kind of money? But you're right. It is really all about the money.
Well, and let's talk about the broadcast a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't actually watch the broadcast, so I'm reading articles, I'm talking to people. And the broadcast itself, the game itself, Matt Vatskersian did the game. Heard he did a good job, which he's done. He's been doing games for a long period of time. It was really cool. He had CC Sabathia with him. They had a cool moment where they brought in guys like Barry Bonds, and he told the story of how he hung up on George Steinbrenner and the Yankees back in 1993 when he was a free agent before he went to San Francisco. Albert Pujols. I mean, so they did a good job of the actual game broadcast. The pregame I heard was just all glam and glitter. And from what I've heard around the league from fans, it was like nobody really cared. You sign on to see opening day. Okay, there's going to be some ceremony that goes along with opening day, but apparently it was very over the top, and people just want to see the baseball game. But the crazy thing is all these networks, they don't want to repeat anything that someone else has done. So they're always trying to find something new. And, Netflix has never really covered baseball before. So you don't know the fan base. You don't know but so will they learn from this? Of course they will. But the real problem is no one wants to repeat what another network has already done.
Yeah, definitely. And those are just things that are going to continue to change, and we're just going to have to kind of roll with the punches. Apple TV already has games starting this week. But you know what? Let's get into this because we had some Cy Young candidates going on the mound. Actually, 6 of them going today. Could be a 7th if he works his way into the conversation in the National League. Paul Skenes had a meltdown on the mound today after 2 outs, 5 runs allowed. It is the shortest opening day start ever by a reigning Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
So the Mets
didn't have any help.
Their job.
O'Neal Cruz had a couple misplays in center field. He had one just, he went in, the ball went over his head. Another sun ball. But listen, everybody, even Paul Skenes shows that he is human. The only question I had is, or the concern I had was, is he healthy? I want to make, listen, he have bad days. Even the best in the game can get beat up. And the Mets were swinging the bat very, very well. He made a bunch of mistakes, but the Mets were able to capitalize. So, you got to tip your cap to the Mets because they could have popped those pitches up just like any other pitch. But they painted him with 5 earnings. Now, the good thing for the Pirates, they end up losing this game. Mets 11, Pirates 7. They did score 7 runs. And, that has been a big problem for the Pirates is scoring runs in the past. So that was actually a good thing. But he comes out healthy. I'm fine. Listen, at the end of the season, Paul Skenes is going to have a 2.5, sub 2.5 ERA, just like he always does. And he'll come out of this game with a vengeance as long as he's healthy.
Exactly. Garrett Crochet is a guy that we've talked a lot about, had a solid game today. 6 scoreless innings, 8 strikeouts. He had a clutch finish. Christopher Sanchez, who we highlighted, as a part of one of these, top 10 opening day rotations for the Philadelphia Phillies, had 6 scoreless innings, 10 strikeouts, and no walks, Mike. So
they end up winning the game 5-3 against the Rangers. Nathan Eovaldi, didn't fare as well. But listen, it's one good thing about opening day is you are facing everybody's number one. And if you can do some damage, and we saw in that game last night of the Yankees at the Giants on Netflix, Logan Webb had a bad inning,
Yeah.
and they end up losing. The Giants end up losing to the Yankees 7-0. The crazy thing was the Yankees were able to score 7 runs without Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge got the golden sombrero, struck out 4 out of his 5 at bats. He struck out. And we know that that's something that Aaron Judge can do. There can be times that he looks like he couldn't hit with a tennis racket. Then there's other times the ball can't seem to stay in the ballpark.
Oh, I know. It's insane. I mean, when he gets hot, he is one of the best in the game. But
Yeah.
when we come back when we go into our next segment, I want to talk about Hunter Brown. I want to talk about Jacob Misiorowski, because they had 2 opposite type of starts, and we'll talk about that next. This week's MLB Top 100 highlight is brought to you by MLB The Show 26, the latest from the beloved video game franchise. Each week, we're highlighting the stars of MLB's Top 100 player list, the elite names that you'll be controlling, building around, and going head-to-head with on MLB The Show. Today, we're spotlighting Jose Ramirez, ranked number 8 in MLB's Top 100. This Cleveland Guardian is a master with the glove and the bat, and you will not go wrong when you center your team around him. The same dominance that shows up in his game shows up on MLB The Show 26 with upgraded ratings, new animations, and improved gameplay feel. If you love baseball, you'll love playing this even more. Visit MLBThe.show/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON to unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Internet connection required. Now available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S and X, and Nintendo Switch. Rated E for everyone. The tournament is here, and one of the best times of the year. Brackets, buzzer beaters, upsets. It's nonstop action from tip to final cut down. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a way to stay in the action all tournament long. You can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. That means 10 chances to stay involved throughout the entire tournament. You can mix it up however you want. Game picks, futures, and even same-game parlays for bigger potential payouts. It's perfect for the tournament because every day there's something new, different matchups, new storylines, and more ways to get involved as the bracket unfolds. So visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com to get in the action. All right, and we're back. Let's talk about Hunter Brown. This is Back to the Bullpen, brought to you by the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in America. Hunter Brown went out today. Now, he had 9 strikeouts and 6 scoreless, but he didn't even register a decision because he left before 5 innings. He had what I would call, he had some hard innings. I mean, he threw 100-plus pitches today. The Astros could not get it done. They lost 3-0 to their division rival, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Got beat by 2 cities in one day. That's rough. But you had Hunter Brown, and then you had the young firebrand out of Milwaukee, Jacob Misiorowski, or they're calling him the Miz.
The Miz. Yeah.
The Miz. 11 Ks, franchise opening day record.
Yeah, let's start off with Hunter Brown. Hunter Brown threw the ball pretty well. I mean, he had the 9 strikeouts. He did have 4 walks. He had 4 hits, so there were base runners out there. The pitch count got a little high, but even if he would have gotten that one more out and gone the 5 innings, there was a dueling shutout. There was a dueling shutout all the way through 6 innings. The Angels end up scoring 1 in the 7th, 8th, and 9th to score the 3 runs, but the Astros, very lackluster offensive production. I mean, they only got 3 hits. They did have some walks, so they had some opportunities, but they just weren't able to muster anything. And we didn't see a whole lot of really competitive at bats other than the 2 hits from Joey Loperfido. And then Christian Walker had a leadoff double that they weren't able to score. So it was just one of those outings that for the Astros offensively that they just, it was just a lackluster day.
No, right. And that's going to be the thing, when you don't have an offense backing you up, I would think over the course of a season that would tend to wear on you. Of course, I know as a pitcher, technically you're not supposed to, like, you go out, you do your job. What the offense does is on them. It's not necessarily on you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you say and you believe, and as a player, you try and believe that,
but it still wears on you.
Oh, of course it does. Of course it does. I watched John Smoltz one time early in his career, early in my career also. He was actually throwing the ball okay, but he could not win a game to save his freaking life. And really? He came in the clubhouse one time and walked in after pitching pretty well, but he was losing the game. He walked in, took all his clothes off, and threw them all away. His whole uniform, just threw it like it was the uniform's fault. I went up pitching. I didn't get a win. It's not my fault. Got to throw it all away. Pretty funny, but hey, we know baseball players are superstitious.
Well, the Brewers today, because we're talking about their pitcher, it's a little bit easier when you go out there and have 11 strikeouts, set a franchise record on opening day, and your team also puts up a 14 spot. The White Sox got a home run late in the game from their newly acquired Japanese slugger. So that was the only highlight for them. But what was the record? Why was it historic for them on opening day?
Well, the White Sox are on the wrong end of another record. There were 20 strikeouts of White Sox hitters today by the Milwaukee Brewers. And when you just talked about Misiorowski, he struck out 11, but that was only the beginning of the day. There were still 9 other strikeouts. Absolutely remarkable that they were able to get that much swing and miss. I mean, and this is supposed to be a team, the White Sox, and I do believe this. They are not as bad as they were last year, but I'll tell you what, they still got a ways to go. 20 strikeouts on opening day. I think somebody's looking for a mulligan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this Japanese slugger that they gained, he's a third baseman, Munetaka Murakami. He is a big guy. He's got a loud bat tool. He can hit the ball hard. So it was good for him to see, good to see him hit the home run in his first big league game. But yeah, the White Sox are going to be one of those teams, Mike, that there's going to be a lot to be desired. One of the things I did want to hit on are the young guns in the game. And we talked about JJ Weatherholt the other day. Hit a 425 foot blast. And he was in the leadoff role. He looked good today.
Sure.
I mean, for a rookie to do that, and the Cardinals aren't expected to do a whole lot, but they go out and they look like gangbusters.
Hey, they're in first place. They beat the Rays today 9-7. Crazy game. There were 14 runs scored in, I think, what was it, the 6th inning?
The 6th inning, yes.
The 6th inning. Tampa Bay takes the lead by dropping a 6th spot in the top. St. Louis turns around and drops an 8 spot, snowman, an 8 spot in the bottom of the 6th inning. So we're going to say that the 6th inning took a little while. 14
runs. It was
runs.
A little bit long. They were like, oh, this is one of those 4-hour games. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember
you had an hour. You had an hour inning.
Right. So, I mean, look, other guys that did great. Carson, Binge, one of the top prospects in the New York Mets organization, got on base 3 times, homered in his debut. Only the second Met to ever homer at opening day on their debut. Justin Crawford had a multi-hit debut. And so it's really cool because you see all these young guns, you see all these young stars, but you had talked about Mike Trout earlier. Yes. And what I want to do, though, is I kind of want to tease that going into our next episode, going into our next segment. When we come back, I want you to talk about Mike Trout and why today might be a sign of things to come for him this year. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You are no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Look, here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates that check all your boxes. Listeners, right now, when you use Indeed sponsored jobs, you will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Because you're a listener of this show, just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Well, welcome back to the Bullpen presented by Locked On. So you teased, we're going to talk a little bit about Mike Trout. And Mike Trout had an interesting day today. He went 1 for 2. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Had his run scored, had an RBI. But he was like, why only 2 at-bats? Well, the Astros walked him 3 times first.
Yes.
Yeah, this was a situation they just simply didn't want to let Mike Trout beat him. And the reason why, well, kind of the first swing, the first real swing, the first contact he made this season, he hit the ball out of the ballpark, and he hit the ball well out of the ballpark up on the train tracks at Dyken Park down the left field line. And the crazy thing was, this was a pitch that AJ Blueball threw that was well inside. This was not a strike. He was able to get to it, and he was able to hit it very, very well to left field. So, we talked a while back about Mike Trout and about how he wanted to get back to his elite speed. He had lost a little bit of weight, so he's not carrying as much weight. And we know, even though, both you and I are Astros fans, hey, Major League Baseball is a better sport. It's a better industry when Mike Trout is doing Mike Trout things. And that's what he did today. He showed that this guy can still, if he's on the field and he is healthy, this guy can still be a premier player.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I think the Angels are really hoping for. And, Mike Trout takes a lot of pride in the fact that he's stayed in LA or in Anaheim with the Angels. And, he takes pride in his leadership role now, and Mike Trout really, to me, is probably one of the more mature players when it comes to mentality, his concern for his teammates. And he's got to be frustrated at just one of the longest, I think, current playoff droughts is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I mean, it is definitely a problem. I mean, they have not, I think they've been in one playoff series since he's been there as an Angel.
And I think it was a 3-game series and they got knocked out immediately.
Right. So he hasn't seen the postseason while he's sitting at his couch on the postseason. Now, Do the Angels go to the postseason this year because Mike Trout performs? I don't know. I think they're missing
Not
quite
unless
a
he's going
bit.
to start pitching.
But yeah, well, hey, you know what?
I don't think that's going to happen because
I don't think he's going to pull an
he's not a 5-tool player. Okay, as great
Okay.
as he has been in his career, and this is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're talking about a guy, him and Albert Pujols. We're talking about two players that may have had the best first 10 years of a career ever. Okay. Now those are big statements because there's been some great baseball players, but he's not a 5-tool player because he does not have a great arm. 5 tools: you can hit, you can throw, you can hit for power, you can hit for average. What are the others? And defensively, you can throw. You have speed. I mean, there's a whole lot of things that go into the 5 tools, but throwing is one of them, and that has never been a strong suit. One of the best players to ever walk on the field, one of the best hitters I've ever seen, I think one of the best hitters to ever live was Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was not a 5-tool player because he did not have a great arm.
Right, exactly. And really, when you think about Mike Trout, you think about his power.
Sure.
You think about his glove. You think about his ability to kind of, leap over the fence and rob that home run. I mean, he's got Joe Adele on his team who hit 37 home runs last year. They have 5 or 6 players that can hit 20 plus home runs. They hit the 4th most home runs in Major League Baseball. It's just the pitching. If you could take the home run outage that they had last year, or the home run production they had last year, and put that onto a team like their division rival, the Houston Astros, where they have a lot more stable pitching situation, that's a complete team. And that's where it seems like some of these teams are. They're either really heavy on the pitching and really solid and weak on the offense, or they're really, really solid on the offense, but they just don't have that pitching depth. And another thing is, they strike out a ton. The Angels strike out a ton. And so if Mike Trout can fix that and get the other guys in behind him do that, well, they could be pesky in the West.
The problem with Mike Trout strikes out a lot too. And that's the nature
that's what I'm saying.
Of the sport now. I mean, everybody does.
Everybody
we have MVPs that are striking out 200 times. And that's why batting averages aren't as high. That's why we see on base percentages not as high as they could be, because there's a swing and miss, and this has been going on for probably the last decade or so, that there has been a transition of putting the ball in play. No, I don't want you to put the ball in play. I want you to give me 3 good, hard home run type swings. So in case with 2 strikes, you do run into one, it goes out of the ballpark. And, we can blame it on pitchers also. Pitchers, they're throwing higher velocity, they're spinning the ball, but the approach of the hitters has changed. The guys that I had the toughest time with weren't the guys with the big swings. It was the guys that had a flatter, more linear swing that could put the ball in play. And that didn't mean there weren't guys that could hit the ball out of the ballpark. There were, but it was guys that the bat spends a lot of time in the strike zone or in the hitting zone. And, if they do hit it, maybe it's a line drive, maybe it goes out of the ballpark, but there was just more contact.
Right. And throughout the year, that that's where a lot of these guys, you have to constantly make those adjustments. But I couldn't help but think about our previous conversation talking about the amount of pitchers that are faced, because it seemed like every time Yordan got up to bat, if he wasn't being walked, he was facing a different pitcher. True. And I was like, oh my gosh, he is going to face the 300 that we talked about.
Right. Yeah, you're talking about the article by Tyler Kepner on the Athletic, and the number that blows my mind is Andrew McCutchen, who the list that he gave, he was the current player on that list, and he has faced, and then of course I don't know about today if he faced all the pitchers he faced today, but when Tyler wrote this, I think it was just shy of 1,550 different pitchers in his career. Wow. That is absolutely incredibly large number.
Yeah, that's a lot of adjusting. Think I don't know if you remember. I don't know how much interaction or if you ever had the honor of meeting with or conversing with Hall of Famer who has now passed, Tony Gwynn.
Oh yeah.
But Tony Gwynn had a VCR tape on every pitcher in the league. Can you imagine if you take the number of pitchers now, how many VCR tapes Tony Gwynn would have to have?
You'd have to buy a second house. I mean, you really would. I mean, now you could all put it, you could put it on a zip drive. It'd all fit right here. But back
Yeah,
then,
it would be easier to store. No,
it
but
would
I'm just
definitely
I'm
be
just
easier to store.
thinking if
Yeah.
the I'm just thinking if the game was like it is now
I
back
actually
then.
had somebody ask me today, what would Tony Gwynn hit today? Because we were discussing this whole thing with again, it's the Tyler Kepner article, and it was just an outstanding job by Tyler. That the 300 hitter, I think there was only 7 of them last year, and just remarkable that it's such a low number. But batting average isn't something they pay attention to. Now it's on base percentage, it's slugging percentage, and then you add the two together for the OPS. Tony Gwynn would still hit. I mean, there's no doubt he would still be a 300 hitter. Now, would he flirt with 400? Maybe for a short period of time. But Tony Gwynn could just take the bat and hit the ball firmly on line drives. He did have a little bit of power, but he never was trying to do that. The crazy thing about Tony was Tony didn't walk. He also didn't strike out. See, he was constantly putting the ball in play, but he's also one of the best hitters, to ever walk up to the plate.
He also, at one point, he had stopped like dipping tobacco and started chewing sunflower seeds, and I remember that because I remember in the Astrodome growing up, looking in right field, seeing Tony Gwynn, and by the time the game was over, there was a halo of sunflower seeds.
Covered.
You could see the exact spot
That's
where Tony
right.
Gwynn stood.
That's right.
But it was only him. Nobody else had that. It was just Tony Gwynn.
Right.
Well,
now, especially with the turf, the land, the guys that the grounds crew, oh my gosh, would they have a problem with that? Because they have to go and clean that up. They've got a vacuum type thing, but it's something that they would have to do because you can't leave it out there. You have to pick that stuff up.
No, for real. Well, hey, Mike, this has been a great show. We've got definitely a lot more baseball to cover, and we'll be back talking to y'all this next Monday about all this stuff, kind of give you a recap of the weekend, the major storylines. But we do thank y'all for tuning in to Back to the Bullpen. This podcast, you can get it ad-free with using the Everydayer Club. And if you go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, check us out. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Again, you can get ad-free episodes, members-only Discord, and so much more. For those of you who are on video, we send you the first ever 24/7 Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make your second listen. Go check out Locked On MLB. It's really close to our channel, so go check that out. But for myself, for Mike, and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, thank y'all for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Play ball.
Have a great weekend. Hope everyone enjoyed, part of the opening day, and we will see you guys next week. Adios.